When the first lockdown started, there was certainly a sense of fear and worry. How were we going to protect our staff, our tenants, our contractors in all of that whole process, and how would we sort of carry out our daily functions and work?
So we were obviously worried for everybody's safety because we go into the settings. So that was the first sort of worry of how we're going to do that. And when they've actually decided to close everything down, I then got worried how we're going to be able to deliver these qualifications, because all the qualifications we deliver are work-based, which means that I need to go and observe my learners when they work with the children.
I've only just launched my organisation properly 2 years ago, so I was still just finding my feet. And I spend most of my time in schools, and of course the schools were the first thing to announce that they were closing, more or less. So yeah, it was really bleak at the beginning, just really not knowing what I was going to do for my business. As I mentioned, I wasn't doing anything online, it was all face-to-face. So the real worry was, well, what am I going to do if I can't get into the schools and the youth clubs where the young people really need me? So yeah, the worry was just not really knowing what was going to happen.
It was that uncertainty of, how long it's going to last, and it was, in terms of support as well, we didn't know how because the place is owned by a brewery, so it was great the government helped us, but the brewery was a little bit different because they thought the government is giving you the help, so we're not going to help you with the rent. So it was tough.
The first thoughts were really about our children. How many children with special needs and disabilities would be stuck at home, often without the support that they need, with their families then having to manage their care needs and their education needs at home in often quite difficult circumstances. Was also really concerned about our staff. We had quite a few staff working in schools at that time as teaching assistant or special needs coordinators, and our office team as well. One of our team has a partner who has MS. One of our team is married to a nurse who's working COVID wards. So there was a lot to consider and worry about.
So because of the lockdown and the reduced travel restrictions, I actually lost my job. I was made redundant. We were a travel business selling luggage, so it didn't go too well. But I turned it into a positive instead of dwelling on things, and I started baking. And just as I started, restrictions for markets were lifted and they started to sell again. And that's when I contacted Barnet Market to see if I could start selling my goods there.
Kitchen and an office here, ready to let out, toilets, my little office, and a bigger office right at the back that's available, fully kitted out.
Just at the point I was going to rent it out, suddenly this virus came around, COVID-19. And so people have been very wary of renting a particular space because of the huge amount of uncertainty, A, and B, people like to work from home rather than pay rent in another building. So it's been quite challenging to get somebody here. I've been advertising and I've asking friends and Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. And I've not had a great response. So currently, it's empty.
The lockdown has had a big impact on our business. We've had to suspend and cease all home visits and inspections in order to minimise contact with tenants as well as contractors. In addition, we've had to reduce the numbers of members of staff coming into the office, so we have reopened our office but with a skeleton-based staff.
I've had the time to develop recipes. At the moment I'm trying to build my website, which has been really good. I'm really focusing on that so I can do my postal orders, and I think more people have been wanting to buy local products and support local businesses as well coming out of lockdown, so that's been really nice, and to meet the locals at the market as well has been so great.
Obviously we had to go 100% online with all the teaching, so even the learners that I have on paper, because I still offer the version because it suits some of the learners better than the online learning. We still have the meetings, but everything is via video calls. If somebody wants to see me at the moment, it's fine, but again, we make sure that we socially distance and that we keep everybody safe at the same time.
We were absolutely delighted with the furlough scheme, which meant that the people we had who were working in schools who couldn't go into work anymore because the schools closed, we could furlough them, And luckily, and for us, the full furlough went on until August, when it was the school holidays, and they wouldn't have worked anyway. So that was great, and we furloughed 7 people. By July, that was, I think, down to 4, because others had then by then gone back to work and were doing face-to-face work. So that was a huge help.
Post-lockdown, we've, as a business, have learnt to adapt in terms of the new arrangements. So we now are carrying out home visits on an ad hoc basis as and when required. We have found that a large number of landlords have been contacting us because they've realised the value and the benefit of our guaranteed rent scheme. Because we work with local councils, the rent to us is guaranteed, and hence we're able to guarantee the rent to landlords that we work with.
Schools are back, so I have been getting face-to-face bookings. I think schools have done a really good job in terms of preparing for external visitors to come back in and start delivering again. I'd say it's picking up as well because really people are anxious about what's to come in terms of coming out of lockdown. I say that even though people are still working from home, it's still very up in the air. But things have picked up in terms of I've got, more exposure in terms of things that I've been doing during lockdown to support. And that has really actually helped me to build customers and clients moving into this period now that we've got coming up.
That people, they started to get that confidence, when we reopened. They just started to get that confidence to actually, going out and enjoying themselves again. But it's now you're seeing it, and it's the press and people talking about all the time. So the confidence is very low in the consumers. They don't feel comfortable, and especially with my place, the social distance and everything. It's perfect because it's such a big place. But again, people are not confident. Especially the older people, they're not confident of coming out. So it's that will have a big effect, in our business in the future.
I think the government have taken it's a difficult position. There is no question it's a difficult position. It's difficult to juggle the balances between, protecting people's lives and protecting people's livelihoods. Certainly businesses will have been impacted, profits are down, restaurants, no one's going to cinemas or restaurants, etc. But people's lives are paramount. That is, first priority. There's no question about it. So they're taking professional advice, and I support that the whole way, without question.
I think we're all beginning to learn to cope with a new normal and being able to sort of operate as we would like to, but taking into account the relevant safety measures and precautions that we all have to do to protect one another.
Please visit www.lovegrovesbakery.com and here's an exclusive code for Barnet TV watchers, BTV10, to get 10% off once the launch.